Boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, Lucas. It is Monday, March 17th. Today, no Booner. You know, Booner, he's on IR. The weather's getting to everyone right now, and it got Booner pretty bad. So Booner's out for today. I mean, he works his ass off. He should take a night off anyway. So it'll be me and Klotzy holding it down. And we got a packed show. It's Mock Draft Monday. We got mock drafts to get to later in the show. We got Kory Woods joining. We talk some Lions free agency. I have a potential, and people who watched the Jeff Iafrate show this morning know, but a potential Giovanni Manu highlight mixtape to show Klotzy. I have Azeez Ojulari to the Eagles we'll get to, and Joe Klatt's mock draft and who he had the Lions taking. So a lot of things to get to today, Klotzy.
Yeah, apparently. But shout out, Boone. Hope you're feeling better. Holding it down in the chat. I see always tuned in. Grinder. Leader of the Booner path, get some rest. And I don't know what happened before the show. Jeff decided, hey, Klotz is wearing a white hoodie. Let me throw mine on, but let me wear a hat just so it looks a little different. So I understand you're trying to steal my flow, whatever I got going on, Jeff, and you're feeling confident with this Giovanni Manu highlight reel. But I'm interested to see. But great show for the people planned, holding it down for Boone, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this NFL free agency, man, it's getting really interesting. I mean, you have guys falling off. I mean, it seems like every pass rusher is just going to the Eagles. I mean, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari, it's just
at least now, like kind of like the last few outside of Matthew Judon and Zadarius Smith, the Eagles and Howie Roseman, they're taking their flyers.
Yeah, that is the two that are still. I mean, they're still out there. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. But you know what, Klotzy, I came across this on my timeline, and I just wanted you to understand. Hold on, no copyright. I just wanted you to understand the specimen that is working right now. I mean, what you're watching is a 6'8".
I mean, what is that even doing? Okay, what is that?
No, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's a man on the grind. And I'm telling you right now, what is it about mixtapes, Klotzy? People always put them out when what?
They're working.
Well, and they got something coming. That's when they put them out. So, yeah, you ever see like a guy in like a contract year or like a year he knows? Yep. They put out those mixtapes. It's like NBA players. Giovanni Manu's putting it out. So look at that.
I can remember a very anticipated Jeff Iafrate return, and I saw a couple of highlights coming with that. Look, Jeff, and I will say this. I'm glad Manu's in the gym like this, working, trying to get better. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to, as we watch this video, what are you trying to say right now?
Wait.
Still working on the technique. Got to fix up the form a little bit, but you'll be starting for the line.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, Montez Sweat's in a body bag with that. And I think, you know, the interesting thing is, you know, maybe he plays some guard, maybe he plays some tackle. Right now they have starters everywhere on the offensive line, but maybe they got a new 6-man.
They don't really that guard spot. I don't know if you can guarantee a starter yet. I know there's some Will Hernandez hype in the air. We could probably break that down a little bit further in the show, if not with Kory. Don't hate the idea of that. But even Graham Glasgow, little shaky. But I'll tell you this. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be excited or extremely. I would think I'd be extremely nervous either way. But emotionally, I feel like I'd be in a bind if week one came and Giovanni Manu was a starting guard on this team. You wouldn't be a little bit at all concerned?
I would be probably a little concerned, yeah. I think
I hope, to your point, the hype of, okay, we're not going to be considered a practice squad guy. We're about to see step 2 in this development. Okay, now you're getting, maybe to your point, Jeff, maybe not the 6-man. That's why you bring back Dan Skip. Okay, we're not just going to gloss over Dan Skipper being re-signed like that. But maybe like the 8th man in the unit by end of the season, 7th, and he's right on Dan's heels. I think that's best case situation. But as far as the debut of Giovanni Manu, I don't think it's going. I can't say I know, but if I were a betting man, I'd feel 99.99999% confident.
You know what? I retract my answer. Booner makes a great point. That means you got a dog if he's starting.
Okay.
Is that not fair? If he's starting, you mean you got something special brewing out in British Columbia.
Yep.
You got something special. Whatever they put in that water over there. Keep
Will Harris, something special.
All right. Well, another news. I before we get Kory on, I did at least want to give my thoughts and you kind of get your thoughts because we're going to talk about some things today regarding it. We'll probably resume the conversation after Kory leaves. But the Azeez Ojulari thing. I mean, check this out, Klotzy. This is big time. Because, and again, it's not always about Azeez, but we'll get into it. Azeez Ojulari, free agent pass rusher, is joining the Eagles. Along, by the way, Josh Uche is already joining the Eagles. So they signed Josh Uche and Azeez. And Azeez is signing with the Eagles on a 1-year, $4 million deal. Ojulari, who had 6 sacks last year, by the way, didn't play. I think he played in 11 games. 11 games the last 2 years, I'm pretty sure. But still, 6 sacks. Stays in the NFC East with the Super Bowl champion. So let me say this first, okay? Because I know people I already know. He's not a good fit. Okay. All right, that's fine. We can go with that. That's fine. All right, I'll give you that one. Even though, like, my fit is production. I'm cool with that. But this is the whole thing I look at, too, with it, man. It's like, it's not even about Azeez to me. It's more about what the Eagles are doing. It's not about Azeez directly. Like, I don't know if Azeez is the right fit. Obviously, Kelvin has already stated literally words from his mouth that whoever I have, we're going to form a scheme around who I have. He never once said, this is my scheme, you fit or don't. It's whoever we have, I'm going to figure out a scheme for it. So that kind of combats everyone's like, he doesn't fit comment. But regardless, let's just say hypothetically he doesn't fit, which is fine. It's not about Azeez. It's about the Eagles saying, we just lost Josh Sweat, who I think we can both agree, Klotz, he's a good player. I wouldn't
Solid.
Great player.
He's a B minus type
Good
of player.
But you'd think, like, ideally, they would lose Josh Sweat and be like, Eagles fans. Well, Howie Roseman drafted Josh Sweat. Just go draft another Josh Sweat. But you know what Howie's thinking? Oh, I will. But I'm going to add 2 dudes who get after the quarterback also. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's, I think, where people are a little frustrated. And I understand. Like, again, it's not about Azeez. It's just about the Eagles and how aggressive they are. They know when to be aggressive. As Shift God just said, I went through this on Friday. It's like knowing, and again, maybe Zadarius signs today or tonight or tomorrow, and we say, oh, okay, well, shut up. But until then, it's like the Eagles just get it, man. They do. And Howie just gets it. He just understands it. And he says, you know what? We're going to get some 1-year deal guys, even though we are cap strapped. It's not like the Eagles have all this money. They just signed Lane Johnson, dude, to a massive extension.
Like $22 or $25 million deal, whatever.
Along with Jalen Hurts, along with AJ, along with Devontae, along with Saquon, along with, didn't they sign Mailata too? I think Mailata's under a big extension.
And they got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, I want to say it was like 90. I'm not going to put the number on it, but extremely cheaper than you look at T. Higgins, Jamar Chase signed today. That's about what it is compared to those two.
So my point being is it's not about Azeez. It's about the Eagles looking at this thing going, okay, we have a lot of players that we drafted that we love that we're going to keep re-signing. And on top of that, we're going to continue to draft well. And on top of that, we're going to bring in 1-year deal guys to help us win another Super Bowl. I love it.
They're doing all the right things, especially I understand. Let's focus more on this specifically Azeez and the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
And I don't think if Azeez was signed, you're expecting him to be a starting piece, but Azeez is exactly what you want out of James Houston. We all know many times, especially this season, this was a season for James Houston to really show what he's got. He's there, and then he's not. But you look at what James Houston brought his rookie year, that's the same role that Azeez would be playing in because they had that NASCAR packages. And Kelvin Shepherd, to your point, Jeff, like you said it numerous times, like Kelvin Shepherd has been on, like when interviewed and goes, my scheme is built around my players. So if you are telling me that you're staring down a guy right now that just signed with the Eagles for $4 million, that job is strictly to get after the quarterback, yes, the Lions can use it. I don't think it's the most perfect ideal fit, but I can guarantee that Kelvin Shepherd would find a way to make it work, especially being a former player. He's been in situations like that where you could see it back to his playing days where a player probably wasn't working the best, but if they tweaked the scheme a little bit, he could be getting after the quarterback and making plays. So I don't really buy all of that, but it does hurt. The Lions, they do got to make a move because you're right. If they go out and sign Zadarius tomorrow, like we will all shut up. Like that's exactly what this team needs. But it's like, why can't we just like, I don't understand what we're waiting around for. It's like, I feel like the longer it goes on, the more unlikely it's going to happen. And if you're waiting for post-draft training camp cuts, you have no clue who's going to be there. And if a player gets cut and he's really good, he's probably won a lot of money, and you probably are extended players by then. So it's one of those things where it's a wait out. I do know that Brad's going to make a move, whether it's through the draft or free agency, but it's like that sense of urgency where it's like, you have a Super Bowl right here. You are this close to it. And it's like, we're fucking around. At least at the defensive end spot. It seems like we're signing Mitchell Agude, but we're not bringing in Azeez. Those are the things where it's just like, what?
Or Zadarius, or Judon, or anyone. It's not even about him, but I get what you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's about a team that has every excuse to be like, we can't really spend anything. We can't even give out 1-year deals, but we're gonna, because we want to win. We want to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Not that Azeez and Uche will be the reason, but they help. Like it's a risk-free move for the Eagles. It's a 1-year deal to Azeez, 1-year deal to Uche. If both of them tear their ACL, okay.
Like, the rotational piece.
Terrible thing, by the way, but okay. You know what I mean? And again, guys, and people are obsessed with like the scheme fit. I'm not, and I know you're not. The point isn't just about Azeez. It's about the move itself. It's both moves, Uche and Azeez. It's not about like Azeez. I like Azeez. I'm not pounding the table like, oh my God, the Eagles got a generational dude. But my point is, and your point is, a move, which could happen. But Monday, March 17th, 8/16, nothing's happened. So besides obviously everything else, but re-signing Davenport. So that's you guys can get wrapped up in the fit. That's not what we're arguing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with 3-4 versus 4-3. I'm bringing up the Eagles having every excuse to not do anything, but they're doing stuff still. You know what I mean? Like that. If Howie Roseman came out and was like, or not came out, but if the fans were like, oh yeah, we're just going to draft someone, and Howie Roseman's like, yeah, we're going to do that, they'd be like, okay. He's not. It's not how Howie's wired. He's like, you know what? Let's do both. Let's go out and draft a bunch of studs, and let's continue to add guys that don't cap strap us for the future, which are 1-year deals. So, and I saw it also. I don't know if you saw this too, Klotzy, because we're both on Twitter. But you see people are like, how do you know the Lions didn't offer him? We don't. But guess what? We can't operate under the assumption that they did offer him, because we don't know. There's no. Like, usually, like, a GM will be like, man, we tried to get him, and he'll like leak it to a reporter, like, hey man, like, we tried to get him. So the reporter puts it out, like, hey, we tried. The Lions were in on, like, a Jeremy Fowler or Adam Schefter. Like, they'll be like, the Lions were also in on Azeez, so then it's like good PR. We haven't seen anything. So I can't operate under the assumption that they were trying to sign one of these guys. I can't. It's just because then I'm assuming, and you know what happens when you assume. All right, you make an ass out of you and me. All right, that's what happens when you assume. So, yeah, it is. It's crazy. I gotta actually
me fucking week.
What, the John Cena thing?
Yeah.
Michael says for $4 million, Hefe, no way he tried. Again, I'm not gonna say he didn't try. I don't know, and I'm not gonna sit here and say he did. I don't know. I don't. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But again, I can't just be like, he did, everyone relax. No one knows anything. Spencer, who did we draft last year that was essential to our success last season?
I would pretty much say Terrion, as far as like, you could have Terrion out there, and I understand he struggled as a rookie, but Terrion versus a Kendall Vildor, give me Terrion 10 times out of 10. And Terrion, I don't think, again, like, he struggled with the penalties, but there's few plays outside of, I think, like the Chris Godwin wheel route, I think it was week 2 against the Bucks, where Terrion got burnt, but that was pretty much it. Terrion was always in good spot. He was in phase. It's just when it came down to making a play on the ball and the receiver that he messed up on. I think in year 2, he can take that next step, especially with DJ Reed there. Yeah,
there's like Terrion, I would say Christian Mahogany. He was in some games. I mean, due to like injury, but he was still in some games.
Jake Bates.
Well, he was a sign, but I'm going to give you that one. He was big.
Come on.
Sione Vaki on special teams, Boone put. So, like, there's a couple, but again, it's once you have a good team, you're drafting guys for the future, for depth. You know what I mean? So this year in the first round, you ain't drafting. I mean, you're drafting for the future and for like someone to produce right away.
Yeah.
Right away. That's what
they have to. That's the risk with running it in the draft too, is because you can have a really good rookie and he can pan out in year 2. But I think it's the Lions right now. If you're relying on a rookie to fill that spot, he's got to be one of those guys that can play consistently, can set the run, can get to the quarterback. Like, he's got to be able to do it all. He doesn't have to be at his prime, but I expect like a rookie. If you're saying, hey, you're starting opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, you want a 6, 7, 8 sack guy, and that's not always guaranteed. Like, there's great pass rushers in the NFL who only had 2, 3, 4 sacks in year 1. And I don't think the Lions, again, 2 years, 3 years down the road, it can work. But if you want to win a Super Bowl this year, you need to have a guy that can give you that type of volume. And I think that's a lot of pressure alongside to do that with your rookie year. Like, hey, like, you got to be a contributor for this team to win a Super Bowl, legit one.
Yeah,
So.
no doubt. No doubt. Let's bring on someone that covers the Lions. Does a great job. That was it for M Live. And I know my guy Kory. I see him. He gets in those Twitter, Facebook rants. I'm like, this is the perfect time to have him on because I know Kory's. He's just cooking over there. So let me get him on. Again, Kory Woods on X. You can check him out. Joins the show. Always, hey, no problem talking to the fellas. So let's bring him on. Kory, how we doing, my man?
Pretty good. How you guys doing today?
Hey, good, Kory. You know what? And I hit you up right away because I know. Listen, I know you've been around Lions fans enough, but you see how people are reacting to. And I made the point today. For me, it's not even about Azeez to me, Kory. It's just about I'm looking at this Eagles team, and they have every excuse to just be like, you know what, fellas or fans, like Howie Roseman, we don't have to sign anyone. We'll just continue to draft. We have a ton of guys that are under these max contracts. We're cap strapped. We're giving big money to all these players. Lane Johnson just got another bag. But you see the Eagles giving out these 1-year deals, still adding talent, and they're going to draft well, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing. That's where my frustration comes in, not as much Azeez, but what'd you make of like kind of the Lions fans and today with the Azeez stuff? Because I know you put out some stuff today.
Well, I mean, it takes 2 to tango at the end of the day. Like I said on Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days, you can play Madden where it's a simulation and rig it to like overpay a guy and sign him. But in real life, it takes 2 parties to want to come together and make something like this happen. And at the end of the day, he didn't take $4 million and go to the Cardinals. He didn't take $4 million and go to like some inferior team. And I'm sorry if I'm getting a little bit of a lag here, but he took $4 million to the defending champions. And he's going to be a part of a rotation. Who knows how much time he's going to see? We'll figure that out. I mean, it made sense for him. I don't know if the Lions I haven't heard anything about the Lions being in the deal or out of the deal. We'll find the next couple of days as it comes out. But the one thing that I find pretty interesting is that, okay, Lions fans don't want them to re-sign their own free agents who have an injury history like Marcus Davenport. They're upset they didn't go out and get an outside free agent who also has an injury history, and Azeez. I mean, Azeez has played, 7 games, 11 games, 11 games. With Marcus Davenport, 15 for then 8-game difference, but I mean, the injury history is still there. I can understand the logic of bringing back one of your guys on a 1-year flyer after he got injured off of a freak accident, as opposed to going out with unknown and getting somebody like Azeez. That's my logic of it. But again, when you want to just look at this free agent class in general, it was a weak free agent class. A lot of guys got, I don't want to say they got overpaid because the NFL is a violent sport and, get what you can get. But at the end of the day, yeah, a lot of guys got money they probably normally would not have gotten. I mean, this Young got 3 years, $51 million, which can blow up to 57. So I think Lions fans just wanted some kind of name, some kind of move that needed to happen because of the way last season ended. But look at how last season ended. 15-2 with most of their front 7 on injured reserve and pulling guys up off the street. So that lack of pass rush that the Lions had was on injured reserve. It wasn't just they were out there with their starters and their second stringers getting beat. Guys were hurt. So do you want to go ahead and spend money on Azeez, or do you want to, hey, get Zadarius kind of off the book, try to re-sign him back, and then go draft an edge rusher at number 28, or trade up and draft an edge rusher in the second round, depending on how certain picks fall. Because me and Ben just did a podcast, and we said if Tyler Booker falls down to number 28, grab. But I mean, look, I understand the frustration. I don't want to get too long, but I understand the frustration. Lions fans, they've it's been longing for winter, and I know the whole let Brad Cook thing can get a little bit played out. But at the same time, this man has been very calculated in how he has built this team. And it's been incremental growth each year, aside from last year's freak year with everything got in. So I would say just calm down. If they don't draft an edge, if you don't see any real movement around getting premier talent on that front seven around the draft or during the draft, then I would say, okay, go into worry. Right now, just be a little bit concerned about things are going.
And Kory, like, it's not that I'm saying that you're wrong, but just kind of pushing back on this, because when I see Brad specifically with the defensive ends, like when he sees an issue with the cornerback room, like last year, he saw what happened with Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, and no disrespect to those guys weren't making the cut. So what does he do? He trades for Carlton Davis and doubles down at the corner spot. Carlton Davis leaves. He doesn't fuck around. He signs DJ Reed, and it wasn't an overpay for DJ Reed, but after you see these contracts, you kind of paid for what you got. DJ Reed, I think, got paid the perfect amount what he deserved. But then you look at this defensive end spot, and it's almost like he's lacking to do that there. So why do you think the difference between cornerback and defensive end, when you can see him like, hey, there's an issue, I'm going to go address it right now, but with this defensive end spot, it is kind of floating around a nickel and diming?
Well, because again, with the defensive end spot, a lot of guys just got injured last year. That's just really what it was. With Carlton Davis, you have to replace that because that's a CB1 that's just walking out the building. But these rest of these guys, you just need to go ahead and get them back healthy. Ask for depth to this, and get key pieces to keep this thing going. So attrition beat the Lions last year, not having adequate talent on that front seven. I mean, heck, if the Lions are all healthy, if the Lions are, let's say they're 8% healthy, let's say they have the front four. If you have Davenport, Hutchinson, Reeder, and Aline fully healthy, that divisional round game looks a lot different. But you don't. You got guys that are pulled off of practice squads that are being pulled from the street. So again, I understand they're starting and then they're getting beat like that. Okay, yeah, Brad, you got to go out and go get a pass rusher. Those guys were injured. So right now, you just need to go ahead and just make sure you just add some quality depth and get those key things and just build this thing, from the, add a little bit more to it. I will say that this is the one move that deserves criticism when it comes to that front seven was the releasing of Zadarius Smith. That's the one I can say, okay, that's a little bit questionable of why you're going to do that when you need Zadarius Smith to go after pass rusher, or still to keep Zadarius Smith, trade for a pass rusher, and still draft the pass rusher. So that's where the criticism could come in for the Lions, but not going all in on a pretty somewhat weak free agency class. I understand why fans are kind of iffy about the lack of movement, but when you take a step back, Brad has been very calculated. And, one thing I can say about him is there are not too many moves that he has made or didn't make that have come back to backfire him yet. Who knows? Maybe his luck could be running out. But so far, I believe that he has built enough equity in his 4 years to be able to let this thing roll a little bit until it gets to a point where it's like, okay, now you got to do something.
Yeah. Do you have any, are you holding out any hope that Zadarius hasn't signed with a team yet returns?
Well, I've read a couple of things because that's something I've been searching on every day. I've seen little whispers out there about him possibly going to the Ravens, nothing really substantial yet that has had legs, just somebody floating a thought out there. Right now, with the way, we do that first wave of free agency, you kind of see where the market is at. Guys have been released and returned to their teams during this period. We've seen that with several players. So it could be a possibility where, the Lions just want to get the contract off the books and get him back for a better number. We'll see. Remains to be seen. I think that really needs to be the priority right now, going to go back and get him, because I would like to see Zadarius Smith in a full training camp with Hutchinson. Aleem, I don't know if Aleem is going to be ready or not, we'll see. But I would like to see him in a full training camp with Hutchinson and Reeder and those guys under Shep, and kind of see what kind of continuity they can build out the gate. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the free agents that are out there, going back and getting that guy who's already in the building, I think that needs to be something they need to go ahead and go focus on.
And Kory, kind of flipping to the other side of the ball, something that to me, it hurt really bad at first as far as being a Lions fan, but as days went on, I'm like, all right, it's not so bad. That was the decision to let Kevin Zeitler walk, and maybe they tried to offer him a deal, but Kevin Zeitler leaves. He goes to Tennessee. You just brought up Tyler Booker. Love that option. We're going to be doing mock drafts here in a little bit, and I may or may not have that in mind as well. But when you look at that, how do you think their plan is to kind of replace Kevin Zeitler here?
Ooh, I'm honest with you. Zeitler one is one that I was shocked that he left that for the number. There are rumors out there that he has family in Tennessee. So if that's a family in Tennessee, probably your last year in the league, going to get a bag, being near family, not home, but near family. If that's what it is, cool, makes sense to me. Can't really get too mad about that. But I was shocked to see him leave out there. I thought that, again, letting that guy walk out, I thought replacing him might have been an option. But again, Christian Mahogany played well in spot last year, so again, they might be ready to go ahead and take the reins off of him. But yeah, I thought they would have went out and got somebody by now through free agency. I'm going to see how that we're all pretty much in the wait and see mode on how that goes. But yeah, they're going to have to address that in the draft, absolutely, because that was a significant loss. And the people won't be able to. I mean, that we lost a Pro Bowl offensive lineman who played in very good spots for you throughout the entire season. So yes, that's something I'm going to be looking at. Again, like you just said, we got our mailbag segment. They said, if Jahad Campbell, Booker, and Will Johnson is there, who do you take? I mean, Will Johnson is a stud. Jahad Campbell, I think if you take Jahad Campbell, he solves multiple problems for you. But if Tyler Booker is there at 28, you might have to just rethink how you do the draft and go grab him, because Tyler Booker and Penei Sewell on the same offensive line, good God almighty.
Man, Kory. A lot of dude, fucking huge.
I've seen him in person. That is a massive human being. So if Tyler Booker is there, I'm telling Lions fans right now, Tyler Booker is there, take him. Let Brad figure out the second round and trade, make some move to trade up and get a higher second round pick, and then take an edge there. But if Tyler Booker's there at 28, you can't pass on him.
No,
I hate that take.
I respect it. I love it. Good stuff, Kory. Appreciate you as always, brother, joining the show whenever I hit you up, man. Keep up the great work. Check out Kory Woods on X. Does some great stuff. But we'll talk to you soon, bro.
Looking, Kory.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
see it.
There you go. Kory Woods taking the time, joining the fellas there, giving some more insight. I mean, listen, we'll get into our mock drafts. I did mine today. If you didn't watch the full breakdown, I went into it. It's on it's on our YouTube. Did it on the Jeff Iafrate show as well. And the people were I saw Klotz's, I saw Boone's. I'll break down Boone's today. I'll do him the service. I'll be POV. I'll be Boone today.
Boys.
So I'll break his down. So I can't leave him out on a mock draft Monday. That's for sure. But I do want to get into, speaking of the draft, I looked into, did you see Joe Klatt's mock draft post for agency?
I did for a little bit. I got locked in, made a video, but saw a little bit of it.
So here's, he had the Detroit Lions at 28, staying still, not trading up. The way the draft fell, there was a player at 28 available by the name of James Pierce Jr.
Baldy.
He went ahead and selected him, James Pierce Jr. And I know what the chat's going to say. I already know it because I know you guys, just like you know me. Doesn't fit. Character concerns. Uncoachable. And now this is Joe Klatt, a man who obviously knows college football very well, very in tuned with a lot of players.
Smart.
And
Sharp.
and by the way, when I actually saw the mock, pretty much every pick, because Joel Klatt's like, he's the man. Every pick, I'm like, makes sense. And then we get to 28, and you're like, James Pierce is still here. Like, it wasn't like egregious. Like, there wasn't any picks where it was like, oh, God, like, that's a reach. Like, a lot of the picks.
Did Jackson Dart go in the first round?
No.
Oh, that's your narrative.
No, he did not. He did not go in the first round. So James Pierce being there, I think, could happen. All right. Based on just the rumors, all the other stuff. You guys got to understand something. Sometimes when a player comes across Brad Holmes' desk, he has to really consider, is this guy a baller? I'm like, is it worth turning this dude away because of some character concerns? Is he snorting coke? Is he dealing coke? Has he killed somebody? Has he been caught? Like, I'm looking at big things, okay? Like, is this dude just coked out of his mind? Like, that's the things you're concerned about. Drugs, does he have an alcohol problem?
Any domestic history?
Does he have a domestic history? Whatever it is. Or like Stephen A, he's smoking the weed. Whatever you're worried about, all right?
Oh, the weed.
But the point I'm saying is that's what you have to worry about. Okay, that's what you have to worry about, in my opinion. Now, I'm not Brad Holmes, but my take on this is, yeah, give me James Pierce Jr. Because I don't think something like that, the rumors about James Pierce, are significant enough for me to, I'm good. Like, James Pierce is going to be a really good player, okay? A very good player. And in my thing, how I look at it, is if you can play on Sundays, and I don't have to worry about you too much Monday through Saturday, get ready to play football. Welcome to the team. All right? That's how it should be. Because are you going to help me win? And the second thing, and I really believe this, what does your locker room look like? I think there's timing to everything. When you're a GM and you're rebuilding a franchise, that first draft is so significant. That first draft sets the tone for the rest of you're building your culture. You're drafting cornerstones. I think when you enter that first draft, or maybe the first two, you can argue, you have to really think like, this first round pick is going to be the dude we build around. Like, this is the guy. They drafted Penei Sewell. It's a pretty good pick. Okay, that's a guy you build around. The second draft, you draft Aiden Hutchinson. Oh yeah, we're building around this guy. So like you're building out the foundation, you're building out the culture. Obviously, Dan sets the culture. You bring in guys that are culture fits. But then there's another time where you're down the line, you've already made it, you're a good team. You can afford to bring in someone that may have some question marks and they fit into your locker room, or your locker room makes them fit into your locker room, or the culture, they fit into the culture. And I do believe that's a thing. I think there are players that maybe come into the league a little distracted, and then they get in the locker room and they're like, oh gosh, that's Aiden Hutchinson. Oh gosh, that's, as a defensive player, that's Alex Anzalone. Oh God, that's DJ Reader. Oh, that's Calvin Shepard. Oh, that's Dan Campbell. Like, all right. And they're going to be on my ass. All right. That's how it works. So in my opinion, I'm cool with it. Like, unless something egregious comes out about James Pierce where it's like criminal activity or something, I'm like, well, that's, a little harsh. Just because of like some character. Oh, he's a little sassy. He's a little sassy here and there. Welcome to Detroit. Can you get after the quarterback? Cool. Come on in. Sign here. Here's your jersey. And go get Jalen Hurts on Sundays. That's what I'm looking at, Klotzy. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, the Eagles literally took Jalen Carter. They had Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, and he fit right in. So And Jalen Carter had some, I mean, you remember back, and I like Jalen Carter, but he did have some worse stuff coming in. You know what I mean? He had like the whole like whatever, the whole incident, bigger than like, he's a little sassy. You know, he's got maybe some character concerns.
He's stubborn.
He's a little stubborn. So that's where I'm at with it. Like, I don't think that it's as big of a deal as people think it is.
No,
go ahead.
Not whatsoever. I think just an infamous one that's coming up a lot recently because of a trade. Laramie Tunsil had a gas mask post of him the day of the draft, the night of the draft. Turned into an all-pro type of player. Now, he struggled last year, whatever you want to say. But my problem or my thing is like, if you're a good football player, to your point, he can lace up the cleats on Sunday, get after it, and help the Detroit Lions get their first Lombardi. I don't give a damn what you do. At the end of the day, remember those Florida teams? Back when they had Tim Tebow, Cam Newton was stealing computers, or Aaron Hernandez is out there. Great players. Remember those University of Miami teams?
Oh, yeah.
Some great players on there. Devin Hester, Antrell Roll, Clint Porter. You can keep going down the line. Those USC teams. Some great players over there. It's actually crazy when you think about the University of Florida. The most sane one was Tim Tebow, and he was probably the worst when it came to transition in the NFL when it came to guys who got drafted. Come on now. Like Cam Newton stealing computers, NFL MVP. So I think you got to have a little balls to you. And I think if you're coming to the Detroit Lions, James Pierce, some balls there, okay? There's some ego. But when you're talking to a guy, I think if he looks Dan Campbell dead in the eyes, to your point, come on now, Ray Lewis. Keep that. Randy Moss, I saw somebody drop in the chat. Randy Moss plummeted. Was undoubtedly the best receiver in the college football that year. Plummeted, fell to the Vikings who had Chris Carter. How'd that work out? 17-0, 6 or whatever they were. They were fucking nuts. Great team. Randy Moss. I mean, at some point, yes. Like if James Pierce is sitting there for you at pick 28, at what point are you going to be like, give me Nick Scorton. I want Scorton. Like, no. If James Pierce is sitting, I would say if he starts falling past like if he falls past the Packers, you take him because the Ravens are going to, or the Texans are going to, or the Rams are going. Like, there's going to be a GM. Yeah. Howie Roseman will move up from 32 to 24 and take James Pierce. He doesn't give a damn about the character issues. He drafted half that Georgia team, and there was issues all in that locker room. Didn't give a damn.
Yeah, no. I mean, and again, I'm not saying draft a bunch of character concerns. I'm saying one dude, a single player who may have some questions, will not break. If he can infiltrate your locker room, your locker room was never good to begin with. If that dude can infiltrate your locker room, it was built on straws. So like that's where I'm at with it. Like he ain't gonna do nothing to the culture. I would like to think Dan, being a former player, can kind of relate to a lot of the things guys coming into the league. I think he'd be a good coach for any guy with some maturity issues, but he's a damn good player, especially the staff they have, what they can do to develop him. Casey Rogers. Like I am all on board with James Pierce Jr. I am. I think it's a great pick by Joe Klatt, and I understand people bringing up the character stuff, but I've said my piece, and we're in agreement there. So, I see this 501st Legion. I watch his interviews. Pierce is just intense. He's not a talker. I mean, he's for sure intense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It could just be like how Jeff says, well, it's the combine with Shadur Sanders. It could be something very similar with James Pierce, because how could you say anything negative about him? So when you look at the production, the combine performance, just the natural intangibles, when you see that he runs a 4.5, you're like, okay, what is there negative to say about this guy? They're going to go after the character, in my opinion. I don't know if that applies, but with James Pierce, I think there's a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And again, Brad, I've been saying this a lot recently too. Who knows what position he's going to go? But if James Pierce is staring at you, I'm just putting it out there right now on March 17th. I will be, I'm going to be on our draft show.
Every Lions fan will.
Yeah, we all will.
If he trades up to 15 and the Lions get him, everyone will be infatuated with the fact that you have Aiden Hutchinson and James Pierce. Remember Baldy at the combine? Half eating a hot dog, a little bit of mustard on his face. He didn't get damn. He was there for the combine strictly only. Didn't give a damn what anybody thought. He said, imagine Aiden Hutchinson next to James Pierce Jr. Oh, my God, imagine. Baldy's already signed up for it, so you know it's a lock. Yeah, there's no way that fails. That's one of those guys where we were just talking about If the Lions get a rookie, you have to have somebody that can contribute right now. If you're relying on a rookie this year to fill that void opposite of Aiden Hutchinson and make Marcus Davenport that depth piece. James Pierce is a rookie that can have that 6, 7, 8 sack production, because even if you go back to him on film when he's in Tennessee, like, he's good at getting to running backs after they catch the ball. He can drop back into coverage. Like, he flies around the field. He fits what the Lions want in a defender. He's a little undersized. Don't give a damn. I understand the Lions want the 6'4", 6'5" power rushers that can set an edge. It's okay to go off of that if you have a really talented player sitting there at 28. People saying Donovan Izaraku, I wouldn't be mad at that either. But at the end of the day, if you're asking me who has more upside to be a truly special player in this league, not that Izaraku can't, but James Pierce Jr. has a ton of upside.
Yeah, and the thing I look at, number one, and the Lions do as well, but aside from like the character concerns, is does he love the game? Does he love football? And if he loves football, but he's got some question marks here or there with his character, not as much actions, but just like, talking back to coaches, whatever. Do you love football? Come on in. Now, if you don't love the game, that's a whole nother thing, where it's like, okay, is this dude even going to improve? You know what I mean? We don't know how much he's going to, does he work? But if he works, oh yeah, come on in. Let's get after some quarterbacks on Sundays, which, by the way, more difficult quarterbacks next season, Klotzy.
I like what you did there, Hefe.
You broke this down, and I got a graphic here that you made. You cooked on this. Next season, the Lions' schedule gets harder. Quarterback play gets harder. So, again, this isn't to be, the Lions are screwed, but it is a real convo here to look at what's coming next season. So, let's check it out. This is the graphic you cooked up. It's a beautiful graphic. Klotz, explain to me what's going on here. All
right. So what we did here is we looked at last season's schedule because I was interested. I see a lot of fans kind of saying, well, this defense was banged up last year. It would have been enough to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think it's a terrible take, but at the end of the day, we'll never know. And so in 2024, maybe that defense would work. The Lions had the 18th strength of schedule last year. And when you look at it this year, it's a very much different conversation. So the defense, you carry pretty much that same unit. Tougher schedule. NFC is getting better. You lose Aaron Glenn. So coaching is going to dip a little bit. So I was like, okay, let's see what they're actually going up against. And when you look at it I took the quarterbacks out of the NFC North because those were obviously going to be there. And then I took out the Lions got to play like the Giants, the Browns. I'm not putting Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders. I don't really pose those guys as threats.
Significant quarterback.
Yeah, the significant quarterbacks, the one that actually, if you let them sit in the pocket, they can pick you apart, throw for 250, 300 plus yards. And when you look at it last year, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, CJ Stroud, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith. So like I said, those are pretty good quarterbacks. And I would say out of 2024, from their play last year, I would say you played 3 elite quarterbacks. And that would be Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, and Matthew Stafford. CJ Stroud, I think, is going to be an elite quarterback in this league, but he had a sophomore slump. He was not elite this year, whether you want to blame it on the offensive line or CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud just was not what he was his rookie year. He took a little bit of a dip, so he wasn't elite. Baker Mayfield, I think, is a very good quarterback, but at the end of the day, you're not going to say Baker Mayfield is Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, and Matthew Stafford. It kind of goes for the same for the rest of the list. Like Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, you say the same thing. They're not the other 3 guys up at the top. But then when you look at, okay, let's look at the 3 games where they played elite quarterbacks. One was Matthew Stafford, and they won that game. And then you lose the other 2 with the depleted defense. But when you look at the rest of these games, you look at CJ Stroud on the road, Dak Prescott on the road, Brock Purdy on the road, Kyler Murray on the road. None of those guys on the road were elite quarterbacks, and you lost to 2 of the elite quarterbacks at home. So let's look at the guys on the left and compare them to tier-wise, talent-wise, the guys on the right, and then look at where you're playing them at. Patrick Mahomes in Arrowhead, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. You're running it back with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, who just got a whole lot better with the receiving core, offensive line, defensive line. They're going to be getting better this year. Washington is, I think everybody expects them. I think you'd be out of your mind if you don't think that Washington's going to be a legitimate team this year. You got to go to Washington. The Rams, we've been talking about the Rams and how they're going to be a very good team this year. Their defense is going to be very good, and I think they upgraded with Devontae Adams instead of Cooper Kupp for 2025. That's an upgrade. And then, You're just rolling into Lincoln Financial to play the Philadelphia Eagles and the toughest place to play against the Super Bowl champions. And you could bet your ass that's probably going to be a primetime game as well. So that's not going to be any easy task. Then you play Baker and Dak again at home. So I'm really not worried about Baker and Dak, even though Baker did beat us in Detroit this year with Aiden Hutchinson. Besides the point, you look at the quarterbacks you got to go on the road against, and you're telling me that this defense from last year can hold up against these type of quarterbacks and the Lions are going to have the same success without Aaron Glenn? That's just something where you talk about needing to add a guy and why people are impatient. This is exactly why, in my opinion, 2024 is not 2025, guys. Okay, you're not going to be having Mac Jones on the Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans with who was the fucking quarterback this year for Mason Rudolph. Rudolph. Like, where those games, I understand, like those are, but you played the AFC South last year. Like, that was the weakest conference in football last year, and you beat up on them. This year, it's a completely different animal. The Lions have the second hardest strength of schedule this year instead of the 18th. So this whole, they'll be back to a 15-win team. No, their defense could still be very good. They're not looking at a 15-win type of season. If you took any NFL team and put through them that type of gauntlet, they're going to struggle a little bit defensively if they just lost their defensive coordinator and they don't have a solidified edge duo. Like, again, the Lions defense can be very good. It can be a top 10 defense built on paper. But on those games on the road, that's where you got to be able to take over those games. And we've seen how they've struggled against these type of quarterbacks before. So in a Super Bowl year, the year where the Lions are like, okay, this is where you got to go get it. You got to start paying big money very soon. Next offseason, when you really got to start filing checks, this is the year that you got to go do it. You got to go through 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 with Jaden Daniels, top 5 quarterbacks, all in their spots. You could have Marcus Davenport and a rookie chase after that, and you think that's going to be enough for the pass rush? Because look at DJ Reader, very good defender. What does he do? Stop the run. Really doesn't get after the quarterback. Ali McNeil. Love me, Ali McNeil, what he could be. How often does Ali McNeil get to the quarterback consistently? Not really. Mekhi Wingo, we'll see what he'll do year 2. But outside of Aiden Hutchinson, who is getting after to these guys? Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, they're all good players. They don't get after the quarterback. They apply pressure when it comes to bringing the quarterback to the ground. You look at all of these quarterbacks up there outside of Matthew Stafford, what makes them so dangerous, including Joe Burrow, which people sleep on, is ball when you don't bring them ball out quick, but when you whiff, they make a play. When you look at Joe Burrow, especially this year, inside the pocket, people said, he looked like Spider-Man because he's making one defender miss, making another defender miss, and Jamar Chase is down the field. Doop. T. Higgins, doop. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Rolls out of the pocket. There's A.J. Brown. Matthew Stafford, he gets the ball out quick. That's why the game was so close. Like, they had Aiden Hutchinson. The Los Angeles Rams line was completely depleted. They had Jonah Jackson at center, and that was a close game. Puka Nacua left in the second quarter. People forget about that. Puka had 80 yards, and he left in the second quarter. And they had Aiden Hutchinson. They had most of this defense. So I'm not saying the Lions, they're losing all these games. But to say this defense rolling into 2025, if it doesn't have an upgrade on that front seven, is going to be okay. Okay, maybe for a little bit. But let's see in the postseason when the NFC is now better. The Chiefs, they might have it down to you're going to get a new team in the AFC. If it's not Joe Burrow, it's a mobile quarterback as far as running. So it's going to be interesting. But I just thought this was kind of eye-opening to look at, especially when you see they're on the road. The Lions went 8-0 on the road this year. 8-0. That's not happening again.
Yeah, and I want to say this too. Like, if you're not saying the Lions are going to lose like all these games. Like, it's like people, and this is the problem. Like, and again, like Cody, he says, no shit. That's why they're called elite quarterbacks. They give that trouble to every team. But it's like, Cody, do me a favor, okay? Unhook the IV of blue Kool-Aid in your arm. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen, okay? What he's saying is not the Lions are going to fall off a cliff. They are not. If that's your interpretation, you need to listen better. Your presentation here is that from last year to this year, it's going to get harder. Every fan should agree with that. There should not be one person that says, oh, you're wrong. No, you're actually right, and whoever thinks you're wrong is fucking delusional. It gets harder based on the quarterbacks you're playing. This isn't last year. Last year, it was tough schedule. It wasn't. But look at the quarterbacks. This is a quarterback-driven league, guys. And if you've been a fan of the NFL for a while, I shouldn't even have to remind you of that. Quarterbacks win in the NFL. Quarterbacks. So when you play tougher quarterbacks, I think it's good to bring up like, hey, by the way, look at these quarterbacks you play. So I thought you did it, but you went through it very well. And honestly, next year you play, and just kind of looking at the list, play some mobile guys too. So of course they're going to give you problems. I mean, that's an obvious thing, guys. If you're saying, well, of course they're going to, obviously, dude, thanks for that. Appreciate it. But what's important is getting after them, which I think I will say Aleem, I still have hope for her to be even better as a pass rusher. But when you're talking about at edge, you're looking at Davenport, you're looking at a rookie. Like that's where you're at right now. So the defense overall, even like last year before they got hurt, they were pretty good. Now you got a new DC. People will say new system. So, at this point, you're rooting for Calvin Shepard, but it's a tough spot for Calvin to be in. I mean, your first year as DC, you got, how many of these? You got Pat Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow. That's already 3 of the top 5 guys.
Yeah.
And then you have Stafford and Hurts, I'd say top 10. Jaden Daniels, I'd say top 10. And then Dak and Baker are probably right outside the top 10. So you have, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of like the top 12 quarterbacks, I'd say. Top 13.
Gauntlet on the road too.
That's tough,
and that's
man.
like when you think about Calvin Shepard, when you think about Casey Rogers, it's not like we're saying these guys are going to be bad, but let's stop acting like Calvin Shepard's going to be Aaron Glenn next year. Let's stop acting like Casey Rogers is Terrell Williams. What did we all boast about as Detroit Lions fans when Terrell Williams was bought to Detroit? He was the best defensive line coach in the NFL. So this Lions defense, like I believe it could easily be a top 10 unit, top 5 unit. But when it comes to getting to the quarterback in key moments, that's what wins big games. You could have great run defense, and that's what the Lions had last year. That's what made their defense very good, was their ability to stop the run. But when you fail to get after the quarterback consistently, at the end of the day, when you go up against Patrick Mahomes and all of these guys that are on the right side of this list, the way to beat these teams is to make them uncomfortable. And there's a lot of times, most of the time, when you look at the Lions, when they have those big losses, it's because they don't make the big-time quarterbacks uncomfortable. They're sitting back there. And if you don't have true edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, whether it's a guy that's a rookie or somebody that's a proven guy, which there's really not that many left in free agency out of Zadarius Smith, these quarterbacks, they're probably going to be sitting comfortably. And we got to rely on the secondary, I understand, but these guys can run too. And when you look at it, there's still a lot of problems that can be caused by all of these guys. And the Lions, just like any NFL team, will struggle. But if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you got to have the best personnel available to stop these guys, whether it's first, second, or third unit. That's why you see a lot of this, like Howie Roseman right now. He's just taking fire on these guys. It's very possible to do that. That's why the frustration comes, because I know that Brad's going to draft a defensive end. I know that he's going to sign a free agent, but there's probably better ones available, especially in free agency, maybe not in the draft. Draft hasn't happened yet, but where you can make this team better. And I feel like there's just been a lot of opportunities so far in free agency where it hasn't happened. It can still come, obviously, but it's just concerning just either way. Even if you sign that guy, this is a tough task to go up against. So going to be interesting. Hefe, going to be interesting.
Now, are you saying, again, to clarify, and I'm being sarcastic, are you saying they're going to lose every one of these games?
Absolutely. They're going to go 0-8 on the road this year, 0-9, whichever game they got, if they have an extra road game. There's no chance that the Lions are going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a 6-win team. Jared Goff's going to regress. Dan Campbell's going to be on the hot seat.
The only thing that processes. And
Brad Holmes just needs to be fired at this point. Burn it to the ground. No. Okay, the Lions are still going to win. My point is, it's not going to be, you know how many Sundays, and Boone, you and I, we would just sit there on Sundays and be like, after midway through the second quarter, be like, all right, getting a little okay.
We were having too much fun where we were bored.
That's not going to be the case this year. We're going to be sitting on the edge of our seats. There's going to be a lot more close quarter games. When you look at the Bills game this year, even with healthy Aiden Hutchinson, you're still going to have a lot more games like that Bills game that we saw this year. So it's going to be an exciting season. I don't think it's going to be a 15-win season, but I'm not saying it's going to be a 10-win season. If I had to guess, obviously the draft and more free agency has to happen. Lions are going to be a 12 to 13-win team, and that, especially this year in the NFC, where it's going to get a lot more difficult. NFC North's going to be cutthroat. NFC East going to be cutthroat. NFC West, that's always interesting. NFC South's going to be garbage. But NFC West, that can be interesting. Lions are still going to be running for one of the top seeds in the
But-
NFC.
No, but the point you're making isn't about the 2-win decrease. It's about the games they're going to be playing against these quarterbacks are more
In the
likely to go
postseason.
either way. Also go either way, because if you're playing Mac Jones, they're favored by 17.5. You're chilling. You're saying 12 wins, but I mean, most of these games could be, like one possession type of games. Like you're saying 12, but the Lions got to be.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, there could be.
They got to be dialed in for these games. Basically, is what you're saying. Because yeah, and that's fair. I mean, the schedule is going to get harder. Your first place team, so that's why teams every year it's like guys got to improve. Which there are some players in the Lions that I expect to take the jump next year. So something to kind of watch here. I see Cody. He said something too. Let me see. There was another comment I wanted to bring up because it was a good thing to bring up by Cody. So let's throw big money at big names like strippers. Y'all got pissed when we didn't get any names that were never available, including Trey. Well, none of us said Trey, so I don't know where that one's coming from. Probably Lions fans in general. But it does.
Smith is a big name stripper. Good to know.
People
legends.
I think they're confusing us with like other people. All we've said, and we've been consistent, is bring back guys on 1-year deals, which like I don't know how anyone could disagree with that. It's the most financially responsible thing to do.
When the Trey Hendrickson news was going around, we were like, Trey Hendrickson sounds great, but like as like the days, like even the first day it was brought up, we like it sounds great, but financially,
we shut it down.
It's probably not the most responsible thing to happen. But the idea of having Trey Hendrickson, in love with. The idea of having Zadarius Smith back on this team, don't love it, but I really, really like it because at the end of the day, you walk into 2025 with Aiden Hutchinson and Zadarius Smith. You walked into 2024 with Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport. Upgrade. That is an upgrade in my eyes. When you look at half a sack Davenport the year that he was healthy, and then 3-game Davenport, 2-game Davenport, whatever it was. And I know that it was a freak injury like Kory brought up, but even before, like it's not like this guy's just been having random injuries. So I am all for bringing back a guy like Zadarius Smith and not Trey Hendrickson.
Malik says, don't care about big names. Just give me reliable veterans and or depth. Boone says, again, I think Brad has done a good job of free agency outside of Zadarius. Literally one move. He has been good outside of that.
Yeah.
I mean
that one move is all we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's probably, it's not, again, it doesn't make or break the dude's career, but it is like, damn, their biggest need, pass rusher. Which people are like, well, they're just going to draft one. It's like, well, the first round, how do we know? They could go offensive line. They could go defensive tackle, which not to really foreshadow.
I wouldn't be mad at defensive tackle. We'll
get to that. We'll get about 10 minutes. I got some good ones here. We got 2 super chats I want to get to. Dante151, appreciate you. He says, well, the Pistons are mad because after one, Pistons are up 35-13 against the Pelicans. See, when they get to this point, Klotz, I'm not even shocked.
We didn't play.
You know what I mean?
Can we play the interview clip one time? Because what was that Saturday night?
Yeah, well, actually, I will play it. And he says, also, Jalen Duren has 2 blocks. You know what? Shout out to you, Dante. Appreciate the $5. And yeah, Jalen Duren, different dude this year. Tyler, thank you for the $2, man. He says, half a sack, Shaq attack, Dak is whack, Lakers in 5.
All right.
That's for sure. Yeah, no, that is. Yeah, shout out Shannon Sharp, man. That guy's a gem. True Teller 2011 says, except that one move is the biggest issue with the team. Exactly. I guess that's fair.
That's just at this point, there's nothing else for Brad Holmes to do outside if you want to talk about Kevin Zeitler in that guard position, but there's nothing else for Brad Holmes to address. But tell me where you feel about this. I'd rather have a solid defensive end 2 than a solid corner 2. Not saying that you have to sacrifice anybody on the team, but as far like when I'm thinking, like it came out of Amon-Ra St. Brown's mouth, like if you have a good pass rush, you could have whatever at corner. And Brad's made sure that they got depth and talent at the cornerback position for the last 2 years. That defensive end spot, you can say Marcus Davenport has talent. I won't deny it, but that talent is rarely available. And then outside of that, obviously Aiden Hutchinson, where else is the depth and the talent? So it's just weird seeing the philosophy with it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're saying something that I think should be is universally true, which is if you have a good pass rush, I don't care. I mean, you do care. You don't want terrible corners.
No.
Well, you're not as leaning. If they got to get the ball out in 4 seconds, 3-step drop back, they got to get the ball out. It makes a corner's job a little easier. If you can't get to the quarterback, I don't care who you got at corner. These guys are. I mean, it's the hardest position besides quarterback to play. They're getting cooked. just how it is, man. Especially in today's game. I mean, defensive players can't even really do much. Can't get handsy. Can't tell. I mean, it's a flag. So Terran Arnold learned that last year in the NFL. It's very different. So
Got a little better with it.
Yeah, no, he did. But like to your point, you'd much rather have a
guy that can bring the quarterback to the ground before the ball's in the air, heading towards Terran Arnold.
Yeah,
it'd be perfect. Make Terran look better too.
Yeah, I mean he. Let me see here. I'm gonna pull up this JB Bickerstaff thing. Let me see. The JB Bickerstaff thing didn't make me laugh, man.
I think the NBA needed this.
Yeah,
from
they
JB.
did. Cody says if Hutch doesn't play preseason, how many weeks will it take him to get in form?
I think Hutch will be ready.
I don't think he plays preseason anyway. But Cody, how many weeks will it take? I think it should be pretty much a couple snaps. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe give him a little run before the season starts.
Because he'll already be working out. He'll already be training camp. Like, he'll be ready.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not like the guy who's going to forget
he
how to
got
play.
joint practice.
Yeah, if he's not, like, yeah, you give him some grace. But, like, you don't think he's been moving the last 5 months on that leg? Like, he's already – it's not like maybe there's that, like, psyche with athletes where if you have a significant injury, he's, like, watching it. Like, you know, you get in your head about stuff. But after a couple snaps, he's probably just dialed in.
Ready.
So, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. J-Rod says Charles Omenihu, Travis Gibson, DeMarcus Walker, Matt Judon, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, and Raekwon Davis. That's the guys available.
Assuming so. That's what he means. Preston Smith, I'll take. No. Great player in his prime. Preston Smith, wash. We talk about Judon, Zadarius. Omenihu's solid. I thought Omenihu got signed. I could be wrong. But
he's out there, but I think he's got a DUI not too long.
Doesn't fit. That's what is up with the Chiefs. The Chiefs, like, I wouldn't say team because Senior's not on the team, but DUIs all around that organization. Driving issues or something. Something's in the water in Kansas City. Travis Gibson, honestly, I have no clue. Raekwon Davis is solid. That'd be good depth.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, this is brutal, man. And I saw a comment earlier. It was like, well, there could be roster cuts. You know, well, there will be roster cuts at some point. It's like, well, but now it's cut. They're getting cut for a reason. Most of them. I mean, maybe there's a hidden gem somewhere where it's like Tim Patrick, you know?
Yeah.
But even Tim Patrick, it's like, I like Tim Patrick, but like he's exactly what he is.
You should have stopped
he's
where
exactly
Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick was essential part to this football team, whether you like it or not, Hefe.
It's
Believe that.
Free agency. Guys are free to sign anywhere. Not going to really depend on roster cuts because then you're just like, you know, getting guys that couldn't, you know, they got teams literally are saying goodbye to. It was I fell in that trap too. I fell for the can't remember. There's an edge rusher last year that kept getting passed around. He was getting cut everywhere, and I wanted him. And then I was like, why? I mean, this guy's gotten cut 3 different times.
I mean, you were hyping up Hassan Reddick. You stood by his side through all of free agency. I don't know who the other one would be. Can't think.
Yeah, I'll remember the name. It's easy. It's a hard name to pronounce. He was on the Ravens, Bears. Bears, cut by the Patriots. Oh, Ngagwe. Yeah, Yannick. Yes.
Oh, Yannick.
This is why the chat. You know what? You guys are on your shit today, and I appreciate it. All right, you guys are locked in, and I appreciate that. Yannick Ngagwe. All right, that dude. I was falling into the. See, thank you, chat. That's why I love you guys. I fell into that trap probably 3 times. The guy sucks. All right, that's on me. I take full accountability. Guy stinks. I mean, he can't make a roster anywhere. So, yeah, no, that's on me. All right. So we got about 8 minutes. Even ETN says, "How do you guys pull that out of your ass?" I mean, there's a bunch of ball knowers in this chat, man.
Shout out to them.
Matt, yeah. Mm-hmm. Ryan, Malik, all these guys, man, locked in. All right. Let's we got mock drafts in about 8 minutes here. But before that, I want to play this clip that you're talking about before we get to mock drafts, which me and Klotz got ours. I'm going to break down Booners. So we got all 3 of ours today, Lions mock draft. So we will get into it. But I want to get a clip and play it. We didn't get to play it on the show because it happened over the weekend, actually. Yeah, this is over the weekend. So this was their loss against the Thunder, in which there were, I think, 3, 4, 5 technicals in 1 quarter. So JB Bickerstaff, it was getting a little ridiculous. I bet on the Pistons at halftime. It was 52-51.
There we go. That's why. That explains it.
And they were up by 1. It was plus 150, boosted it to plus 200. I said, give me my Pistons. They ended up losing, of course, and Cade got ejected.
That's why.
Yeah, it's definitely why, actually. But here's JB after the game.
I'm extremely proud of the way they continue to compete. I'm disgusted by the way that game was officiated. The level of disrespect was above and beyond. They have a guy fall down and trip on his own teammate's foot. They review us for a hostile act. They throw an elbow to our chest, neck area. I ask for him, at least take a look at it, right? Just show us the respect to take a look at it, okay? No one would take a look at it, okay? The disrespect has gone far enough, and I'm not going to allow our guys to be treated the way that they were treated tonight, okay? I tried to have a conversation with official. The official was arguing with Mark. I say his name one time, and he screams at me and tells me that's enough, right? We understand that we play a style of ball that's physical. It's on the edge, right? I know off with a passionate way. I'm into the games. Our players are into the games. We understand that, right? But we deserve a level of respect because we're competing our tails off and bringing something positive to this league, right? We're growing young players. Our young players are competing their tail off. The least that they could do is get the same respect that everybody else in this league gets and get refereed the same way that everybody else in this league gets reffed. And enough is enough of it. And what you saw tonight was disgusting. It was a disgusting display of disrespect towards our guys and what we're trying to do.
Oh, my gosh.
That pumped me up. I saw that, I think it was Saturday late night. If you're not tuned into the Detroit Pistons and you call yourself a Detroit sports fan, what the fuck are you doing? Okay, you look at this team, lost Jaden Ivey, didn't flinch, seemed like it never happened. And you look at how they're playing basketball, it is true. They're the NBA, it's getting soft, but now it's you see the political side of it where it's like MVP, SGA in Detroit. Like, no, Thunder going to win this game. More talent. They were favoring the Thunder. But when you just look at how this team is, I think JB Bickerstaff, I don't know why I just said it, Bickerstaff, got the NBA's attention a little bit. I think it did because at some point you have to go back to the way that the game's supposed to be played. And it's the game's fading away from what it was. And JB Bickerstaff's trying to reinstill that to these players. Like, if there's a loose ball, go fucking dive on it. Okay? You're not fucking Steph Curry, who's been a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he doesn't want to dive on it, doesn't have to. You're Asar Thompson. You're Jalen Duren. You're Cade Cunningham. All of you have something to earn. They fucking play like it. Monty Williams, there was none of this. There was none of this with Monty. So, JB Bickerstaff, caps off. Caps off.
I will say this. JB Bickerstaff, the son of Bernie Bickerstaff, he is a man amongst boys in the head coach. The head coach of the Detroit Pistons. That's what he is. You know what I mean? He stands up for his players. I love this. You know why? Because the players see this on social media because they're on it, and they're going, you know what happened? Guess what? I know it's not. It's kind of hindsight because it's happening, but they're whooping the Pelicans' ass right now, and they should. They're a bad team. The Pelicans have suffered like the most injuries in the whole league, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. Dial them in. You know that's what I respect about Coach. He understands it. It's almost like he's doing it, yes, for the league, for the refs, but he's doing it for his guys. He understands. Like, if Dan gets to that podium post-game for the Lions and starts going off, the players are like, it's like Jason Kabinda meme. It's like they're just locked into it. You know, he knows how to get to his players. He's an excellent coach. He leads all coaches in texts. Yep.
There's something to be said, though. Like, when you – and I saw – shout out to Terry Foster. He's been all over social media this weekend saying, like, the Detroit Pistons, when they're good, like, that's who they are. Like, and I'm not saying he's those guys, but you look at the bad boys, like, they always had a player like Isaiah Stewart that was out there, just didn't give a fuck, was causing conflict, was getting the opposing team's head. Isaiah Stewart's not one of the all-time greats with the bad boys, but when you just look at the physicality, the toughness of the coach, that's when the Pistons are great. So I have no problem with JB Bickerstaff. JB Bickerstaff is doing he exceeded everybody's expectations plus more this year. Everybody just wanted to see the Pistons be a competent team, but now you're looking at them as like, okay, they're not going to win the East, But if you go in there and you kind of keep your heads ducked against the Detroit Pistons in the first round, they could definitely steal a series, and we'd all be smacking ourselves if we thought that was going to be the case. Hefe, you said 35 wins. They've already passed that. Am I wrong? Or going to be close to it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they fucking –
Guess what? They're a game away from the 4 seed.
After they got hoed out of a game.
You know what? They're not gonna, you know what? They're not gonna steal a playoff series. They're gonna take it. They're gonna take it like a kid's lunch money. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna go in there, smack around whoever they face. And you know what? I hope it's the Pacers because I like this little rivalry. I hope it comes back because that the Pistons-Pacer rivalry. That's some historic. We got to bring that back, especially with the young guns. I mean, they got Tyrese over there. You got Cade over here. That's what I want to see. I want to see these two top point guards in the East.
And trade like it's
lace them up.
Like think about like Devin Booker. I put the tweet up like I'm not stepping foot in Phoenix. If I had any interest to go back home and play for the Pistons, like I'd be all in after watching that video. If I'm Devin Booker, like there's no way. Like what have we done? And like, dude, I'm getting held hostage. And Trajan's got some guap to spend next.
Yeah, you got Boonholzer like grabbing Katie's hand. Katie's like, get that shit.
Fuck out of here.
Boonholzer. Like a JB Bickerstaff grabs it. What do you need? Yeah. You know what I mean? What do you need? That's what he's pulling out. Yeah. That's what he's doing.
Boonholzer. I really did. I didn't even know he was the Suns coach, to be honest with you. I really didn't. I forgot that man existed.
Boone. That's Bud.
Boone.
That's Bud.
Boone.
Coach Bud. Yeah, no, sit your ass down, man. You look like you're at the popcorn stand at the stadium. That's what he looks like. He's selling popcorn, man. JB, that 6'6", looking eye level at you.
You know.
Looking eye level at you. 6'6".
That's Hunk. You ain't disrespecting
no,
Hunk.
No, you're not. Not that guy. He's a fiery coach. I love that shit, man. And I think JJ Redick's kind of done that. He's got some fire, but he's a former player. I mean, JB's obviously I think he played in the NBA too, so he's got a little bit of that dog in him. All right, let's get to our mocks. I will go first. I will break down what I had for today, and I talked about it earlier. If you missed it, well, enjoy. Sit back. Speaking of popcorn, grab some popcorn because you're about to witness the greatest draft in the history of drafts. Okay, this draft, it cannot be duplicated. It cannot be replicated. It cannot be.
I think it quite literally could.
It cannot be duplicated, it cannot be replicated, and it can't be intimidated. And I'm going to show you right now why. Okay?
It can't be. All right, you should have cut
that into it.
You got to trash that one. Back in the vault.
Lakers in 5. All right, let's get to it. My mock draft. All right, let me tell you something. Hold on, let me get that. I want me. This ain't about you. This is about me. So get your ass out of the screen. All right, this is about
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dak Prescott.
When you're looking at this mock, you're thinking, okay, Jeff, you're cooking, but what are the ingredients? I'm gonna tell you the ingredients right now. 28. You stay put. By the way, no trades. No trades.
Sucker's way out.
Yep. No trades at all. At 28, Walter Nolan's staring right at me. I got to make a decision. What do I do? I'm drafting the big fella. And here's the thing, all right? You might say to yourself, Walter Nolan? Yep, Walter Nolan. Watch the tape. Okay, he's an excellent run defender. That's what Lions fans, I get it. Everyone should be concerned with. Can he defend the run? He can. Guess what he can do on top of that? Rush the passer. Those 3 words. Very important 3 words. Rush the passer. 6.5 sacks at Ole Miss. He was the heartbeat of that whole defensive line. They had a lot of talent over there, by the way.
Did.
A lot of talent, but guess who was in the middle? Causing havoc. What's the worst thing for a young quarterback? Pressure from the middle, especially guys that can't move as well. He can bring that. He can move, all right? And he can make a quarterback move.
Caleb Williams would be pissing down his leg.
He wouldn't like that. He'd be funneling all these guys right to Hutch. That's what he would be doing. Especially with Noah Leem to start. It'd be great. And he'd play. I mean, you could put him in different situations. He could play on the edge. He's got a lot of versatility to him. So I love this. So Walter Nolan at 28, I would love it because I would be like, hold on. Well, what happened at 60, right? Like what happened at 60? Then I can make a decision. What if I offered you JTT? What if I offered you JTT? JT Tuamolau. JT Tuamolau.
I'm just going to let you live with that one. Go keep moving.
Tuamoloau.
JTT.
JTT, 6'5", 270. By the way, Walter Nolan and JT, both 21 years old.
Come on, young guns.
And here's the thing about JTT, all right? When I look at a player and I hear, oh, he's got a high floor, low ceiling, I say, you know what? Can a guy with a low ceiling take over a game? Took over a pretty big Big Ten game, if you remember, Klotzy. That was not last year, but the year prior to that, against Penn State. Go watch that game. Go watch that game, and you'll come back to me and say, Jeff, I'm sold. I'm sorry for ever doubting you. Because JTT did that. He took over that game, dominated. Like, not even like, oh, he had 2 sacks. No.
He looked like a top 5 pick.
Dude, yeah. No doubt about it. He's powerful. He's a powerful first step. He plays with great leverage. We're not worried about pad level. This dude gets it. He's big. And he had 12 and a half sacks. I look at production. He had production. Now, people might say, well, Jeff, he had some cleanup sacks. Sacks are sacks. When you bring a quarterback down, what happens? All right. When you bring a quarterback down to the turf, Klotzy, or grass, depending on the stadium, what happens? Play over. Play over. If it's a cleanup or not, I don't care how it looks. All right. Just give me the quarterback. He does that. JTT, love that at 60. Actually makes the 28th pick look a little good. So I like it. All right. At 102. At 102, this is what we decided to do here. I decided that, salt base some stuff into the ingredients here because this is what it is. Jared Wilson. Oh, yeah. I love Jared Wilson. And you know what? The thing that I look at with Jared Wilson, by the way, JTT, I already know if I already told you, 21 years old. Jared Wilson, another younger player, but a player with not a lot of experience, but like in a good way. He started this past year at Georgia after really, essentially, he wasn't playing really at all his first 2 years. He played 1 year, dominated at center in the SEC, going up against this Georgia defensive line the last 3 years in practice. Okay. Got a lot of those are all NFL guys. Oh, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams. Went up against all of them, right? He did. So he has the experience. On top of that, his first year as a starter. There's going to be some hiccups. Nope, not at all. 0 sacks, 1 hit allowed. 0 sacks, 1 hit allowed. Played up. Oh, guess who he played against? My 28th overall pick, Walter Nolan. Check that. And he also has some right guard experience, which that's intriguing to me because where's Graham playing this year? Right. Yeah. So Jared Wilson will be able to compete for that right guard spot and be your future center after Frank Ragnow retires. We saw him at the combine. He was moving fluid. He's an athlete. So I love it. All right, we'll keep it pushing here. 130. I get my guy. Do I really have to tell you about Pat Bryant? Okay. Yep. I got one sentence for you. No block, no rock. He uttered that at the combine. That to me, dropped the mic. So I think the Lions, they don't care what he does on the that you're selling the Lions and you're selling me. He understands what it takes. No block, no rock. He's also 6'3". He's a pretty good player too. 6'3", 200. One drop. What do we love about Tim Patrick? Big. Doesn't drop. Consistent. That's what Pat Bryant is. 82.9 grade against man coverage. Gets open. He's going to see a lot of single looks. Don't worry about it. He'll make it work. And I said this morning. Saw him at the combine. We all did. Up close. Massive dude. Wouldn't want to be the DB trying to get past him if he's blocking, okay? He's a specimen. So I really like Pat Bryant. I think at 130, it's pretty good value there. No Jane Higgins, because Jane Higgins is probably going to be a top 60, 70 pick, and I went in the trenches, so we had to settle for Pat Bryant, but that's not really settling. He's still a pretty good player. 196, Jay Higgins. This is a controversial one because people bring up the speed. He ran like a 4.8. Something like it was not. I'll just say it was not like it wasn't great. It wasn't even good, to be honest with you. It was actually bad. But you know what I look at with Jay Higgins? Okay, doesn't have the speed. So why is this dude so good in coverage? It's game speed. He's moving out there. I think I love about him. Oh, hold on a second. Let me check my notes. I'll get to it. Pass coverage. 1 touchdown allowed, 4 interceptions. It's a pretty good ratio, I'd say. If you had that ratio as a quarterback, you'd probably be benched. 1 touchdown allowed, 4 interceptions, 57.2 passer rating allowed.
Hello.
Guy checks every box. Okay. Obviously, if you're a good player despite your 40 speed, then something's up here. Okay. Obviously understands the game. He's not he's a pretty good run defender too. Looks up to Jack Campbell. I mean, watch some of his interviews. Seems like a super down-to-earth human being. So it sounds like they would fall in love with this guy too. And linebackers out of Iowa, they just breed them. All right. They're coming out of there just studs. All right. And you get another one here, Jay Higgins. I think he's going to be a pretty good player. 196 too. It's like, he probably could be gone earlier, to be honest.
Value, Iafrate. Value here.
Value, Klotz. We talk about it. All right. 228, Malachi Moore. I mean, do I have to say more than just Alabama DB that has potential? Brad's all over it. That's literally it. 51 passer rating allowed. The thing I look at with Malachi Moore that's super intriguing to me, Klotz, is he played in the slot a lot. He plays everywhere. I mean, the guy's a Swiss Army knife. Xavier says that's where your brain is, Jeff, up there. Thanks for that. Just checking. But he played everywhere on the field. Played everywhere. Played in the slot mainly his first 2 years. Moved to deep safety. Was great in coverage. Played well at deep safety. So what do you have in Detroit? You have a nickel, Amik Robertson. You have a Brian Branch who can play nickel. There might be a scenario where you drop Brian to nickel, you need 2 safeties. Where's Iffy? He's gone. You can have Malachi Moore and you can have Kirby Joseph back there. Alabama. Another Crimson Tide player.
Alabama. Just drops to Alabama.
That's it. All right. You got to draft one Alabama player, to Tyler's point, every year. It's just how it works. And I love Malachi Moore. As a 228, like the dude, no way he's at 228, right? Like, no way.
You would think not.
There's just no way. I don't know how it happens. And then, at 244, I took Shamari Simmons. All right. Shamari Simmons. This is kind of, if I'm being completely honest, this is just, hey, Shamari, Arizona State, pretty good cover corner, depth, special teams. I think he has an interception every single year, 1 or more every single year in college. And on top of that, he had 4 forced fumbles this year. 4 forced fumbles. You playing on special teams? What do you want to do? Rip the ball out? He had it 4 times this year.
Play the fucking boom.
He understands, hey, turning the ball over. The Lions love that. Give me the ball back. Shamari Simmons did that. And for 244, it's like, who cares? I mean, he's got some upside there. At worst, he's an Antoine Green. So I'll say that. But that's my draft, Klotzy.
Jeff, gonna be honest here. I don't like it.
Oh,
I love it. You give me Walter Nolan at 28. If Walter Nolan slides to 28, I don't think he's Kenneth Grant, but he's not far behind. Walter Nolan's somebody that we talk about. Okay, you don't have Aiden Hutchinson. Who else is getting the quarterback? If it's not Walter Nolan, you have a Lee McNeil and Walter Nolan on the field, one of those two will. I think he brings that missing element that DJ Reader at this point in his career can't really activate as far as getting the quarterback. I understand he had 3.5 sacks this year. That's his career high. But when you're looking at what you want in the middle, you want a guy that's young, can get to the quarterback quickly, is good against the run. Walter Nolan checks all those boxes. And then JTT, I think, is kind of like right behind where Jordan Burch is. I think he's close. He's like a top 15 defensive end. But if you get a good coach in Casey Rogers with him to work with him, like you said, he has 12.5 sacks. He's big as fuck. He can do whatever you want on the edge. The issue is just he doesn't have that upside. But we've seen time and time again, these 2nd, 3rd, 4th round guys with Brad Holmes blossom into something special. JTT could absolutely be one of those guys. You get Jared Wilson, fixes that depth problem at guard for right now, and they could eventually turn into a starter if he goes there. And then you also have a Frank Ragnow replacement. Pat Bryant, we've talked about enough. Jay Higgins, we've talked about a little bit. I like what you have to say as far as I don't give a fuck about the 40 time. If you're a good linebacker, which Jay Higgins has consistently been, he's been all Big Ten last couple of seasons. Like, I do not care, especially at pick 196. Same thing with Malachi Moore. Could not tell you why he's supposed to be 7th round in the PFF mock draft. He's going to probably be a 5th, 6th round guy. He's not going to be going this late. Same thing with Shamari Simmons. He's one of the better corners like late in the draft as far as like you said, coming up, making contact. So if he's sitting there in the 7th round, it's an absolute steal. I'd give it an A, Hefe. A.
Thank you very much, Klotzy. I got a lot of love on this one. I appreciate the people. They've been giving me some good grades. They've been supporting a lot of A's, some B's. I'll take a B, but a lot of people love that one. So I appreciate that. This is, let me see. Michael says, what kind of bees produce milk? Boobies. Oh, damn it, Michael.
We had to say it.
He's not. I mean, he's not wrong. You know what I mean? Appreciate the $10, Michael. You sicko. All right, let's.
Bad joke of the day. Shout out Michael Bailey.
Yeah, no, he's. I would guess, Michael. If I'm guessing right now, you got 2 kids. Based on that joke, you got 2 kids. I know you do. With no problem. But I know how that humor is, man. Yeah, I don't have kids, by the way. Let's before we get into Klotzy's mock, because we are going to get into that. I do want to show you something that we are doing this week, which you guys should all enter. And we'll drop this link too, but it's our Crunch Time Sports Bracket Challenge, and we will be giving away a special prize to the winner. So the link will be in there. You can join, you can participate, pick a bracket, and let it fly, man. You know what I mean? Let it fly. Participate. Let's have some fun. I love doing it, and Boone just dropped it in there. Participate. Oh, sorry, I took it away. Participate with the fans, doing stuff, man. This is sweet. So let's do a little bracket challenge and
people,
see if you know more college ball than Boone. So that'd be tough. You know what I mean? Like Boone's coming in as a favorite.
Yeah,
it's a tough.
He's been dialed in.
Yeah, you can't.
He's going to be distraught if he doesn't get first.
Yeah, that's a tough. He's got to lock in for that one. But yeah, the links go ahead in the chat. All right, let's get to you, Klotzy.
Yeah, apparently the mock draft that couldn't intimidate yours. But you know what, Hefe? Great mock draft you had. I think I cooked here as well. Goes into what Kory was saying as well. I did make some trades. Brad Holmes likes making trades. But as you see, I normally move up. Not this time. Go ahead, throw it up, Hefe. We traded down. We traded with the Chiefs. I was sitting there at 28. I didn't like anybody because I was going to stay put. I was going to see if there's anybody at 28. I was like, what if the Lions stay put? And I was just like, I can't pull the trigger on any of these guys. There's nobody that I liked. Even like, not Josh Simmons, mind blanking. Guard from
Donovan Jackson.
Can't believe I forgot that one. He was gone. They're like, okay, let's trade back. Let's get some value. So I traded 28 for 31 and 66, and I threw away some pick next year. But either way, I traded back, got another second-round pick. Saw Tyler Booker was there. And back to what Kory was saying, if you have 6'5", let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. 6'5", 321 pounds. Next to Penei Sewell and alongside Frank Ragnow, I'd love to see what Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery could do. I would love that because when you go back to his pass protection too, didn't give up a sack this year, gave up 2 in 2023, and then 2022 gave up 0. So he allowed 2 sacks his whole career at Bama. Think of the guys that Georgia has had over the last 3 years. Think about this year, even with Tennessee, Ole Miss. You brought up Walter Nolan. Didn't give up a sack against Big Walt. Did not happen. I don't think they played, but either one they did match up. Tyler Booker, he's been very, very steady against the run. Without a doubt, probably the best, unless you bring Will Campbell to guard, probably the best pass blocking guard in this draft. Could develop a little bit against the run, but like we said, you're running next to Penei Sewell. You're right next to Frank Ragnow. You got Hank Fraley as your offensive line coach. That's going to develop, and this guy's going to be a very good NFL player. And then I said, you know what? We got pick 60 and 66. Why would we keep 2 picks here when you can trade one of them and Hendon Hooker and go get you a pass rusher? Because we need to attend the defensive line. We got to do it. So we get Prince Yu. I'm not going to even try to pronounce and disrespect the last name. But, Jeff, you were talking about him a little bit. You put him in the top 10 defensive lineman. I don't know about that. I don't know about that as far as edge. But he's got upside. This can be the risk, the reach potentially that Brad Holmes has. You move up in the second round by trading up with another second rounder and Hendon Hooker. You send him to the Saints. This is the trade with the Saints. And you move up. And you go and you get a guy, a specimen. Everybody's complaining about Azeez, how we didn't sign a guy like Azeez. This is the James Houston. This is what you want. Prince Yu out of Ole Miss. Production, athleticism, upsize. Can't really set an edge consistently, but you know who can? Jordan freaking Birch. Jordan Birch, like I said, probably one of my top 5 favorite players in this draft. Couldn't tell you again why he's a second rounder. He's the same size as Shamar Stewart, has production, got clocked running 22 miles an hour on a fake punt. The man's an athlete, and he's good at getting to the running back and setting an edge against the run. He can do it all. He just needs a little bit more tuning to his game, and that's what the Detroit Lions can do. And sitting at pick 102, Andrew Makuba. We all remember that meme. You remember that meme when Georgia had to send in a backup quarterback, and he's just getting clocked, killed. That was Andrew Makuba. Had 4 interceptions, as a turnover machine, and you look at what Brad Holmes likes, he is exactly what it is. He's a tone setter, but he's also a turnover machine. This is a guy that you put in behind Brian Branch, kind of what you were saying. Who did you draft at the safety spot? Malachi Moore.
Malachi Moore, yep.
He's a bigger Malachi Moore. Honestly, I'd probably say Makuba is better. Not dissing Malachi Moore, but Makuba can come in day one and be a great third option as your safety. You go to Pat Bryant at 130. Come on now. Like you said, you bring back Tim Patrick, 1-year deal. After this year, probably let Tim go. If you want to bring him back for cheap, I'm not going to be mad at it. But that year after, in 2026, it's the year of Pat Bryant as your wide receiver 3. He's a perfect fit with the Detroit Lions. No block, no rock, like you said, doesn't drop anything. He's your prototypical ex-wide receiver that's going to be a wide receiver 3 with no ego whatsoever. Go up and get a jump ball. He's not the best route runner, but at the end of the day, he's a physical wide receiver. When you're going up against smaller DBs, he's going to have the advantage. And you get Ty Robinson at 196. I let the interior kind of go depleted for a little bit because you look at bringing back Levi O, Roy Lopez, you got Mekhi Wingo, Josh Pascal goes in there. So you got depth, DJ Reader with Lee McNeil at the starting spot. But I do think you could use a pick for the defensive interior. I would have liked to a little bit earlier. Nobody that I really loved at the spots where I was looking at it. But Ty Robinson with the 196, great value there. He's somebody that Boone put us on to. Absolute menace, tree planter, can get to the quarterback, can stop the run. And then I feel like every mock draft that I've had Jabbar Muhammad Moose at pick 223. When they were going up against Ohio State and that wide receiver core, Jabbar Muhammad kind of stuck out a little bit. It's not like he was locking down Jeremiah Smith and those boys, but if you were seeing somebody that could hang with them, Jabbar Muhammad would bring like a Chase Lucas type of impact to this football team. So this is my draft. Obviously, we're going into the trenches for most of this, but you got to get depth at safety, wide receiver, and corner. Can never add too many weapons on the offense side of the football, especially if it's Pat Bryant. But that's what we went with, Hefe. We traded back, and we got Tyler Booker in the first round.
So you traded Hendon Hooker. That's what you're saying.
Oh, Hendon Hooker is getting shipped and everything. Joe Milton's projected a 3rd-round pick trade value right now. You go get a 4th value with that. You package a 2nd with Hendon. Come on, you can move up. Go get a Prince U.
Yeah, well, listen. I love one of my favorite picks besides the edge rushers is Andrew Makuba.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I drafted him 2 years ago in Madden, but because he's a really good football player.
He is.
All right,
he's the field well.
I promise it's not like it's not like the guy had superstar attributes on my Madden franchise. I'm saying the guy is an actual. Honestly, he fits exactly what the Lions are looking for. The way he plays the game, the Lions are gonna love. So Andrew Makuba, love that. I would say Big Book, Tyler Booker at 31. I think you can live with it because you get 2 really good edge rushers. So I don't hate it. I think you kind of hit on everything here. I mean, even your boy Jabbar Muhammad.
Moose. It's Moose, Boone. It's Moose. Even if it's not Moose, it's Moose now. Jabbar Moose Muhammad. He'll be a Lion.
Jesse says Muhammad is the kid who came from Washington, right, Lucas? If it is that guy, he's a long DB. Liked him at Washington.
Indeed it is, yes.
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't like it. I love it, Klotzy. I love it. Princely's going to be he's going to be a good player, man. And I mean, you got him and Jordan Birch. Like, you could
you get best of both worlds, and one of them's going to work. 2nd-round picks, double down, Brad. Double down in that 2nd round.
You got 4 top 100 picks, basically. I mean, 102, but 4 in the top 100, 5 in the top 130. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. All right, let me get Boone's in here because Boone, he's got his draft. All right, and I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna do my best to do Boone right, and we're gonna see who Boone decided to draft for the Lions. All right, so let's check it out. Boone. This is Boone's draft.
Oh,
and I think,
come on, Booner.
I think Boone. I got some questions for Boone. All right, and the only question I have 2 questions. One, how in the hell did Calvin Banks Jr. get to 28? How in the hell did Calvin Banks get to 28?
Rams would be smoking pot Good pot. Very good pot.
But if it happens, like just based on who he took, I love it. Calvin Banks is an excellent pick. He's a left tackle, play guard, but he's a really good left tackle. And he's a future, Pro Bowler in this league. So like Calvin Banks at 28, you get your future tackle. Love that. That's a great selection. We can move on to Jack Sawyer at 55. All right. And Boone did make some trades here too. So he got a couple trades. Now I don't think he worked as much as you did, Klotz, but he had a couple trades in there he sprinkled in.
You make moves.
Jack Sawyer, I like. Actually, I love at 55 because Jack Sawyer, people are going to say, "Oh, high floor, low ceiling." If your floor is 9 sacks a year, bring him home. All right, that's production. That's a good player. And honestly, guy shows up in big moments. I always bring that up. And you know this better than I do, Klotz, watching him at Ohio State. Shows up in big moments. I don't care about arm length, hand size. I don't, because it didn't hold him back when he was facing Calvin Banks. It didn't hold him back too much when he was facing that Michigan O-line. So I think this is a great one. Or Notre Dame. They always have pretty good offensive linemen. So Jack Sawyer, I love this. It's a great one at 55. 102. The man that caught my eye at the combine, Ahmed Hassanin. He is he's a little bit, there's things like Scott Bischoff brought up. He's some things he's got to work on, but overall, he plays with heart. He plays with will. He's got that edge, that grit. And that's what you're looking for. All right. He's more raw, but he's an athlete. You can tell he's an athlete. And like Scott brought up, there's probably things you look at where you're like, maybe we need to tweak that, little things, maybe need more development here, more development there. But good thing he's walking into a room with Casey Rogers. All right. Good thing he's walking right into there because maybe you can turn this man into a really good player. So there you go. Ahmed at 102. At 130, Nick Nash. I said Nick Marsh. That's the Michigan State wide receiver.
Nick Marsh.
Yeah, Nick Nash. I don't really know who Nick Nash is.
Oh, Hefe.
I don't.
All-American, former quarterback, played 1 year wide receiver and lit it up. Nick Nash, great player. Okay,
so good
better
player.
Than Ricky White. Yep, green light on Nick Nash.
At San Jose State.
Yep.
That is the home of Derek. What was the tight end they signed? Derek something. Whatever it is. Who cares?
It's your boy?
Yeah, well, no, not Kenny, your boy. Another Derek. They'll know it in the chat. They always know. Nick Nash, though, wide receiver. They address wide receiver at 130. Okay, you get your wide receiver like that. At 196, Miles Frazier. There you go. You get your guard. I like it. All right. So you got a tackle and a guard. So you got offensive line and defensive line. So he's prioritizing the trenches a little bit. Miles Frazier out of LSU. Malachi Moore. The safety went into it, versatility. That's what you're looking for in players when you draft them late, and he's got it. He plays well in a lot of different areas, probably better as just a deep safety. But you know what? They're going to love it. Their lines are going to love him when he gets here. So at 228. At 244, Howard Cross the third, playing next to Riley. Your boy,
Riley Mills, paying the bills.
And then
like he's on pills.
Yeah, and I have heard of Howard Cross the third, but I gotta lock into Nick Nash. I don't know much about Nick Nash, but I would say overall this draft is a really good draft. I thought Boone did a good job here. I mean, this is you got Calvin Banks, Jack Sawyer, you got tackle, you got 2 DNs, you got a guard, you got a wide receiver, safety, another defensive lineman. So you know what? I thought we brought it today. I really did. I think we brought it all together today. I thought the boys left it all on the line, and I thought it was a pretty good performance. That's what I thought for mock draft.
You got a fucking war or something?
Yeah. No, we went to war today. That's what we did. Draft.
I'm happy.
No, go on.
I'm happy Booner's open. Well, he was already kind of open to it, but taking a tackle in the first round, don't hate it at all.
Let's see. Malik says, I give this draft an A. Just need to see the vision with Calvin Banks and Miles Frazier. Both are guards in the NFL, in my opinion. So I got to know who's a starter and who's a backup swing lineman. Yeah, I don't know. I think Calvin's a left tackle. I think he'll translate to a left tackle. But Malik's not the only one that's brought that up. It's not just Calvin, by the way. It's like People are
All
saying
of them
that.
except Justin Simmons.
Yeah, that's what it
Or
seems
Josh
like.
Simmons, I don't know
Every
if it's-
tackle, it's like people are like, can they play guard or are they more a guard in the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
It was it has to do with like some guys with arm length and speed.
Undersized, yeah.
Yeah, maybe undersized. So
Like Membo, that's his thing. Like that's why people like if they think he can play tackle, have him mocked high. But then like Klatt, that was one of them that I saw. He had him going like I believe 20 of the Steelers, wherever the Steelers picked 21st. That's like when you look at him like that, he's probably looked at as a guard because he is 6'4". Like Tyler Booker, we just broke down 6'5", 321 as a guard. You know what I mean? He's playing guard, and you look at a guy like Josh Simmons, he's huge compared to a guy like Membo.
yeah, it's like, and again, there's another one, Josh Connerly. That's a tackle.
He could pop into the first round for sure. Yeah.
He's good. He's good.
The Chiefs, I wouldn't be surprised if they take him.
Yeah, they should. He's gonna be a good player, man. He's solid, and that's the Doc's guy. Doc brought that dude up, but Joe Klatt had him going to the Texans in the first round.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there either because they need something. They revamped that offensive line.
Malik says Banks doesn't have the foot speed. I see. I don't know too much about the maybe that's what his question is. And then like for example, Will Campbell, his is the arm length. So
yeah, I don't.
Which is bold.
Will Campbell, it's starting to turn into Aiden Hutchinson. I know it's different positions, but you talk about like if it doesn't show up on film, Will Campbell was the best offensive lineman in football this year, from start to finish. And Josh Simmons giving running for his money for a second. But even like if he's playing in the SEC, as far as the most athletic defensive lineman, they're going to be there. So if his arm length was going to be a problem, it'd show up on tape, and it does not. Will Campbell, if you take him as a tackle, great. Take him as a guard, great. He's probably the best lineman in this draft when you talk about without injuries, no question marks. Like he's surefire to be good in the
NFL. Let's see. I saw Tyler. What is he? Oh, Tyler says if you get Banks and ship Dak, you free up $20 million in payroll. It's been your thing. It's been your it's been your thing there, Klotzy, with Taylor Decker. Tyler says if Decker has any trade value, I think a Banks pick could be very good from a payroll plus draft capital pickup perspective. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, no, I
agree.
Jesse Adams says Will Campbell played 3 years at LSU as a true freshman. Fuck you, I'll take him at 28. Oh yeah, I mean he's not gonna even. He won't sniff. If he falls past. Who picks later, the Bears or the 49ers?
The 49ers at 11, Bears are at 10.
No way he makes it past 11. There's no way. If he does, I would be absolutely shocked. I would be not even shocked. I'd be appalled.
I wouldn't be like if Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter off the board. I would not be surprised at all if the Jaguars take him too. Protect
that dude. That dude's a stud. He's you don't start as a true freshman and be that consistent in that conference with those quarterbacks he's blocking for. Yeah, no way. No way in hell. Did you see the I forgot to bring this up earlier. Did you see what the Bengals are doing?
Yeah. I don't think it's the right thing. I know me and you get in the conversation about especially running backs and wide receivers. Like we can differentiate in opinions. But this was crazy.
So we might agree on this one. I don't know if I think I know where you're going. But Jordan says, Jordan Schultz, the Bengals, even after getting lucrative extensions done with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, still hope to do a deal with Trey Hendrickson, despite granting him permission to seek a trade. It won't be easy, but they're not giving up. Joe Burrow publicly pushed for Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, and Trey Hendrickson to get paid. They're 3/4 of the way there. So they have to pay Trey Hendrickson. But, like, no way. I mean, they paid. And by the way, my take on this, I would have never paid T. Higgins.
No.
I would have never did it.
I would have paid T. Higgins. I would have paid him 2 seasons ago.
I mean,
like, that's
fair,
the case.
Because I would have put the money. I would have paid Trey, let T walk, draft a wide receiver too.
No, and
because you can't pay. I saw this too, and I think it's if you're paying Joe Burrow what you're paying him, in my opinion, you shouldn't worry about your wide receiver too. Like he should be able to elevate you. You know what I mean? And I think that, and he can. I'm not saying he can't, but if I'm the GM, I have to operate like, okay, if we let T go, can Joe and Jamar keep us up, keep us afloat? They absolutely could. You know what I mean? With Gesicki, they draft a wide receiver 2 somewhere, whatever. They signed a wide receiver 2, and then they bring it, whatever. And then you could pay Trey. But if they can't pay Trey, dude, I mean, who are you? What's their defense? You're going to have to hit on every defensive pick, essentially?
Yeah. I mean, and that still might not be enough because if you lose Trey Hendrickson, good luck. You could have had like the whole point was their defense. They fired the defensive coordinator. If you were able to bring back Trey Hendrickson and pay what you're getting in Trey Hendrickson, pay what the man deserves, and bring in a James Pierce, a Mike Green, like that defensive line could cause issues because they brought back BJ Hill and they have Chris Jenkins from Michigan last year. So that defensive line is not that bad with Trey Hendrickson and a rookie. It's not great, but it's a very good defensive line in an AFC division where you have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. You can go down the list of quarterback. Everybody knows them, but you're bringing back T. Higgins. And T. Higgins, again, great player, but you should have traded T. Higgins. You could have got
you could have got a lot.
Like it's like as easy or as stupid as it may sound, if you have Trey Hendrickson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Restrepo and Yossi Voss or whoever you want there, like Xavier Restrepo would be perfect for what the Cincinnati Bengals like to do. That's better than having Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and no Trey Hendrickson. And you need another defensive end, and you need a corner still. I think this is just, again, the Mike Brown was way too late with this bill. And you could have capitalized before all this and done a sign and trade with the team before all this happened and got more draft picks and draft revenue so you can move up, down, whatever you want to do. But Joe Burrow, again, to your point, like if he's making this much money, he's not in a position to complain about T. Higgins not getting signed when you have Jamar Chase there too. If T. Higgins was their lone wide receiver, obviously pay the man. But like when this situation comes up with the Detroit Lions with Jameson Williams, maybe early to say you let him walk because wide receiver in the draft, I know it's the same thing as running back, but if you can replace a wide receiver in this offense with a wide receiver too at the first or second round pick, I saw what Ladd McConkey did this year. I fully trust Brad Holmes to find a Ladd McConkey or somebody like that, a big body wide receiver that can give you 700-800 yards in year one because it's a running football team that's going to have a good offensive line, Sam Laporta, good run game. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to be there, and hopefully a defensive line that gets after the quarterback. So wide receiver too, I think, especially you see how important the running game is going to become. There's no way that I'd pay that type of money for a wide receiver too.
Yeah, because Joe's operating from like obviously he knows football, a ton of football, very intelligent, but he's operating from like a standpoint of these guys are my friends. You know what I mean? Like T. Higgins is my guy. I want him back. But it's like, Joe, like if you're the GM, you're like, Joe, I understand you want him back, but what's best for the team is we trade him, get draft capital. We can pay Trey, and then we can fill this roster out with another wide receiver. Maybe they can sign someone who would want to play with Joe Burrow. I know it's the Bengals, but still, you can find someone that would want to play with
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and Jamar Chase, yeah. And it's nothing to do with T. Higgins' talent. He's a wide receiver one, dude. He is. He can play anywhere and be a wide receiver one. But it just doesn't make sense to me. I'd say the same thing if it was with the Lions. I'd be like, well, delegate that money to Aiden and then figure out, hypothetically it'd be J-Mo, but be like, hey, see you later.
And Anakin,
you know what I mean?
He got his autograph. I love that he's a Lion for right now. But again, these are the conversations that they're a little early now to have. They're uncomfortable, but they're conversations they had down the road. I'm not saying the Lions won't re-sign J-Mo. They like paying their guys, so there's definitely a chance that he does. But if you're asking me, when it comes down to those conversations with like Brian Branch, when you have the conversations about Aiden Hutchinson and Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, like for me, I know that I'm not saying that J-Mo's not being is not very good. J-Mo's excellent. He could go to another team and be excellent. But I know how good this offense can be and how good the receiver position's turning out to be. Like when you see the development in wide receivers now compared to even 10 years ago, it's completely different. Everybody can run routes. Everybody has consistent hands. Like the position is developing where you have to do everything. And I think that that's easier to replace than, let's say, a all-pro safety or a guy in Jahmyr Gibbs who can hit that next gear, not sign him to huge money, but a 2 to 3 year contract extension. I'd be all for that as long as they get banged up. But J-Mo's a talented player, but I think just because of the cap space, you're going to have to let somebody walk, and that'd be my guy. Again, J-Mo's very good. He could be 1,000-yard wide receiver somewhere else. Wish it'd be in Detroit, but there's a salary cap.
If I had to ask you, by the way, shout out JT's Massive Purpose. Appreciate you for that, bro. If I had to ask you, hypothetical, this isn't even like it, but I'm just curious. Because I saw the Eagles are shopping, quote, quote, Dallas Goedert. Like they're shopping them, just seeing what they would, because they paid Devontae and they paid AJ. If you had to make a decision, if you had to pay Sam Laporta or Jameson Williams, who would you pay?
Sam Laporta. Because
Why?
even like, Why? Because look at what Sam Laporta does. It impacts both the run and the pass game, and I think he has what the NFL is going to. Like, Sam Laporta is not a Dallas Goedert. Not saying that you're saying he is.
Right.
But Sam Laporta has all the intangibles that an all-pro Hall of Famer type of wide or tight end has. And I think it's harder to find that type of tight end that's shown you it already. He's not a Kyle Pitts. Like, everybody knows what Sam Laporta can be. You saw it later in the season, too, especially in the playoff games. He was hurt coming off, but Jameson Williams, his speed is irreplaceable, but I think what you find at the tight end spot, Sam Laporta is a little bit more hard to come by. Jameson Williams, again, extremely good talent, incredibly good wide receiver, but it's easier to find a replacement for Jameson Williams than Sam Laporta, in my opinion. Again, I'm not going to be up in arms if they say Laporta walk, JMO, you stay. I'm not going to be dying on a hill for that, but that's just where I stand on it as of right now.
Yeah, I'm not. I actually agree with you. I think for two reasons. One, and again, people get so like sensitive. Oh my god, you guys are saying JMO stinks. No, we actually love JMO. I've actually went to war with some of my former coworkers over JMO. I've defended him throughout it. We all have throughout his career. But the problem is you have to make tough decisions. And I'm just saying, if hypothetically you had to choose, maybe they don't. Let's just say they do. Because Jameer's coming down that pipeline too, buddy. All right, so you're gonna have to decide.
That's not even a question you got to ask me. You know where I side.
Okay, well, that's why the hype. So
the words have even been uttered out of your mouth. You extend that man, Klotzy. You watched him fly down the field against the Tennessee Titans, and you looked at me and you said, "You extend him. You extend."
I would extend Sam Laporta. I think it's harder to find that, and I think tight ends are to have a good receiving tight end, or hell, maybe even a borderline great. I mean, he was an All-Pro last year or the year prior. You just don't find them. You just don't. And you look at look at some of these teams that are out there in the Super Bowl. A lot of the time they usually have a pretty good tight end. I mean, that's it's just essential. Essentially, someone that it's just a matchup nightmare. You know what I mean? It literally is a matchup nightmare if you have a tight end that can get open, create space, be good in the run game. Obviously, Laporta's not like George Kittle, but he's fine. He can get it done.
I love it.
Yeah. So I would agree with that. And I know, again, people are, I mean, if you pick JMO, I'm not going to sit here and hate you. I just would prefer, I'd keep Laporta, and he'd be cheaper. What are they paying? What are top paid tight ends? Like 14, 15 million?
Look for you. Let me check for you.
It's not even like, it's not like crazy expensive. Like top receivers are like 25 plus million.
And it just went up after today.
So yeah, you're going to get that man closer to 30 probably. He's probably going to ask for. And you're paying Laporta, what, half that? Shit, I'm cool with that. Especially he can get you 800, 900 yards.
Oh, I just do that. All right, so the top, let's see, average. Travis Kelce's the top paid tight end, 17 mil. TJ Hawkinson, 16. George Kittle, 15. Goddard, 14.
Yeah,
Mark
okay,
Andrews,
14. 17, 18.
Njoku, 13. Yeah. Juwan Johnson got extended this year, or re-signed, I should say, 10 mil. Evan Ingram just re-signed, 11.5. And yeah, those are only guys who got re-signed this offseason that are notably.
There's more good wide receiver twos than there are great tight end ones.
Yeah. And especially, like, again, year one impact. Like, look at what Jordan Addison did for the Minnesota Vikings year one. Justin Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings. Like, there's wide receivers that can come in year one and make a difference.
Especially, I think that's probably one of his most, he hasn't drafted him a lot, but I think that's probably one of his strong suits for sure, is wide receivers. I think
I think it's just one of those positions that carry over to the NFL easier. Like, I don't think, obviously, play calls are going to be different, but when you just talk about playing like the receiver spot, I think it's more so just a speed thing. Like, once you adjust to the speed, you're fine, unless you can't catch the football and you can't run routes. But Brad Holmes can.
Sky Moore would be
Sky Moore, be a good one. Tavon Austin, good one. But if you're drafting like true, like if you find yourself a guy that's 6'1", 6'2", put up production in college, can run down the field, block, catch, most of the time, if he's to that talent of the NFL draft, he's in that tier of like second, third round guys. It's harder to miss on those guys versus a tight end and those type of players.
All right, we got about 2 minutes left. By the way, before anyone leaves, if you have ESPN, then you should have already entered in our bracket. I already see people entering right now, and it's let me see. I'm gonna see if I can see. There's a couple people in here already. Go participate. If you don't know college ball, it's okay. Join the group, hit a bunch of teams, Submit that motherfucker. All right. And then to see what happens. Maybe you win and you can win the special prize. But if not, it's okay. It's free to enter. We're not charging nobody nothing. You just got to have the ESPN app. You can enter the bracket challenge. So get on that. Bracket name here is me. Okay. So Michael's in. Yeah, we have to honestly find a way to like vet everyone once someone wins. We got to find out who actually won. So if you could, it maybe make your team name your username in the chat. That'd be probably easier. But bracket name here, at least you told me, Michael, it's you. So we know that's you. But yeah, lock into that and go ahead and participate. Tyler says 12.5 to 14 million a year. Gibbs will be 20 million a year. JMO's going to want 28 to 30.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm paying if it's a close competition. Like I think all those guys will have reasonable arguments. Probably just gonna go with the cheaper player because Brad's gonna overpay him a little bit because they're homegrown.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that Amon-Ra St. Brown contract. It's aging like fine wine, dude.
It is. Amon-Ra is great.
I mean, think about what he's getting paid compared to like. I mean, you're getting paid $28 million. You're not complaining, but he's probably like, damn, these guys are at 35 already. I think it is 36. Moves quick. That's why it's important to pay players early. The Eagles understand that. They pay guys early. Now, running backs, I'm not really going to say pay early, but, you can pay other positions pretty early, I'd say. Safer. They have a longer lifespan in the NFL, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my opinion. But usually, like Penei Sewell, all these guys get ahead of it early. Pay them early. And it works pretty good for you. But good show today, Klotzy. Appreciate you. Did a good job.
Always.
Appreciate the chat as well. Much love to you all. Get your merchandise, officialctsports.com. I know it's the off season, but still you can get comfy. I got a hoodie on. It's actually pretty nice weather. But we got t-shirts on there, hats, anything for the summer, golf hat. If you're going golfing, I'm actually about to order that because I'm about to get back out there soon. So members, there's a link or there's a discount code in the community section for all members. So you can get 15% off your total order. So go ahead and check that out. Enter the bracket challenge, and we'll be back tomorrow. And I think Boone will be with us. Get well, Boone. We love you.
He'll be with us.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. But he was feeling a little off tonight. But until tomorrow, appreciate you all, and we will catch you.
Peace.